the world has changed. Mr. George called in and was speaking about digitizing a whole lot of stuff so that it's visible, much more widely than before, where people were behaving as if it was an esoteric science, as opposed to it being a business science that people shouldn't be secretive about. And that, unfortunately, has been the situation with, arguably, with our civil servants, our technocrats, as they were called at that time. Now we have a minister of ICT communication who is there with them. So all of these should augur well. And Tinubu has said that he's the captain of this ship. In other words, he started reforms. And he wants to hear, ask your questions, he invited them. Ask your questions. Make your requests. No, I'm not talking about any free lunch, but you're talking about a mutually beneficial relationship that is going to be the new order. I think that is my extrapolation of what he meant as he was speaking to his host.
You see, at the federal level, we have the Bureau of Public Service Reforms.
Civil service reforms?
Civil service. I think whether civil service or public service reform.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. And the whole essence of that bureau, because it's a huge agency in itself, and the main objective is to reform the civil service along the lines that you have just spoken about. Issues of the use of IT, technology to drive the processes and reduce the time it takes to process things, and more importantly about attitude. Because there's also the issue of integrity. This is not even IT, integrity of people.
Indeed, I hear you.
Because I've heard stories from investors. When it comes to getting approval, whatever kind of approval, either from the state bureaucracy or from the federal bureaucracy, it's like a checkpoint.
Yes, and a very, very difficult one.
Very difficult one. And the question they ask at each of those points is what is in it for them.
Which is unfortunate. Now, I think there's a caller on the line. Who's on the line? We have a caller. It escaped. Can you help me with who's on the line? Dele in Ikeja. Good morning, Dele in Ikeja.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. I'm a important caller on your network.
Oh, great. We're delighted to have you. Please go ahead.
I always listen. That's the only time I listen to TVC. You see, that man here and other people will be saying, in fact, this government is government of brilliance. It's government of brilliance. I don't know. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Government
of brilliance is not charlatans or whatever. And if either Nigerians decide to get it right now or you wait another so many years to come.
Well, the president is determined to get it right, as you might have heard.
But, sir, you should take ownership. Nigerians should take ownership, not the president. If you are serious about it, you should follow the president. Not even follow, we should be in front. You see, now, I want to say two things. As regards to internet in the sense that the man has said it. There is no policy the government can make without trying to reduce the civil service. They will mess it up. Okay, you know we've been talking about this. As people as lofty the ideas that the policy of the government are, the civil service can make a mess of it. The second one is this. You have to be very, very, very carefully watch whatever Indians are bringing in. Because in India, they have one thing. If you go to university for 1 year, they give certificate as being 100 level. That's the head. 200 level, they give certificate. And when it comes to transfer of technology, they don't do it. So we have to be extremely careful. Most of them are not certificates. They don't deal with certificates. They are craftsmen. You understand? And they come here and become director.
Thank you very much for calling in. Be that as it is, let me just say we also have with us now Mr. Jesutega Onokwasa. Good morning to you. He's a lawyer, a writer, a member of the Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for coming on. Maybe, there must have been challenges, otherwise we would have started at the top of the program together, but you're very welcome now that you have arrived. You have followed the program since you came in. And we're just talking about, maybe you'd like to come in there in the first instance about people being apprehensive, people calling in, for instance, and saying that, well, you see, the bureaucracy, the civil service structure, the public service structure is what is now their fear. Well, give me your perspective on how you think, because the president has said that it's not business as usual. He was directly inviting his people. He was speaking off script, speaking from the heart, so to speak. Give me your impression of how well this can go if managed properly.
If Bola Tinubu is known for anything, it is his ability to galvanize people, to bring the best out of constituents, so to speak, you know, and it will certainly not be business as usual, you know, with President Tinubu. The required reforms will be instituted, and you know, these things take time, and if anyone can bring the sort of changes that I must say, desperately require in the country, I'm very sure it's President Tinubu. Very, very.
Okay. Well, you are a lawyer, and there's also another aspect of that. So thank you very much, because everything now has to move. The whole business, the whole aspect of technology is that it makes things smoother, faster, and the law is one area, you know, where we could use some of that. We'll be speaking about that in our next topic, but this was by way of a preliminary introduction. But back to studio and the India trip, there are so many different things. Even our Defense Industries Corporation, there's an arrangement that is going on there, a discussion that is going on there with a view to, you know, making us about 40% self-sufficient in these things. And then the other exciting one was steel producers are also very interested. Yeah. We are hearing that there are also businesses that want to bring in over 20,000 megawatts of electricity.
That's for the power sector.
For the power sector, especially in the northern states.
So there's also something around petrochemicals.
Exactly. So all of this is sounding pretty exciting, and President Tinubu seems to be given the impression that this is an opportunity that we're taking with both hands, and it shall be mutually beneficial. Well, we're going to have to leave this subject matter for now. I would have wanted to hear from you, Dr. Yusuf, also the other way around. We're talking about India coming in. How about Nigeria? You said that Nigeria, you know, the balance of trade was in the negative, you know, for us. So is this something that you feel our people too can grab hold of? Because I think
it is. But what is important in all of this is that, because for you to be able to get an inroad into other economies, you must be very competitive domestically.
Okay.
So we need to remove barriers to competitiveness domestically. And that is why I said at the beginning that domestic investment is as important as foreign investment. Because sometimes, even to attract foreign investment, people want to see what is happening to those who are investing domestically. You want to get the kind of stories that they are telling. And for us to be able to also benefit from all this relationship, you must be able to also put something on the table internationally.
Exactly.
And for you to put something on the table, you must be able to produce competitively. And that is why we had this issue of, you know, investment in power sector, addressing issues of infrastructure deficit and so on, within the framework of this visit. That is why it is also important, because we need to address some of these structural issues. And we also need foreign investment to fill some of those gaps. So it is very important that we strengthen the capacity of domestic investors as well, because we should not diminish that.
The capital market.
And the ministers, just to add this point,
yes,
the ministers should begin to engage each of the sectors to know what exactly are the impediments. That is the starting point.
With a view to, you know,
yes, you need to understand the sector. Not many of them are expertise or experts in the sectors in which they are managing. But if you engage the stakeholder, they will tell you exactly what the problems are. And you take it off from there. If there are issues to escalate to the Federal Executive Council, they do that immediately. That is very important. And that is why we have ministers spread across different sectors of the economy. They should engage with the stakeholder and have first-hand information as to what the bottlenecks are.
Indeed.
Some of this could just be administrative. It could just be bureaucracy.
But the one thing is that President Tinubu is determined to remove all of those bottlenecks.
Yes. It's determined. It's determined. And the ministers also have to provide information on what the president needs to act upon through engagement with the relevant stakeholders.